Hello, and thank you for joining us for another webinar at the Wealth Building CPA. I'm your host, Yasmin Razak, and on behalf of the CPA, Ebere Koye, this is one of our regular webinars where I interview one of Ebere's joint venture partners and clients to ask them a little bit about their adventures in business and real estate, the challenges and the successes, in the hopes that it will give you some advice and some tips on how to succeed. So my guest today is Luis Navarro. He is a Washington, D.C. / Baltimore, Maryland area resident and has been since 1986. He's dedicated his life to national and community service. He's a veteran of the U.S. Armed Forces and has had a career in the defense industry. But now Luis also focuses his talents as a real investor, basically investing in real estate to serve the home buying community as a licensed agent and as a trusted investments advisor. So he's a very busy person and a successful person to look up to. So thanks for joining us, Luis.
It's good to be here. How are you, Jasmine?
I'm very good. I'm very good. Thank you so much. So a lot of people listening to this call are either real estate investors or they're thinking about getting into it. So can you tell us a little bit about how you actually started in real estate?
Well, I tell you, from the time when I was separating from the military and arriving in the Washington, D.C. area, actually my last assignment was in Northern Virginia, from that time of looking for a place to live myself, you know, I always had that something inside of me that wanted to make money in doing various different businesses, and I saw real estate as a good way not only to make some money and create a future for myself, but also to get into my first home, the first home of my own. And you know, I've bought products from different, you know, late night gurus and such, and so I had the seed planted in my mind for nothing down strategies and creative financing strategies, and so the seed was planted way back then in the 80s. It didn't transpire or manifest itself in my life right away, but from the time when I purchased my first home, you know, I had that seed, and I had a little bit of head start. And then when I found real investors, I began to learn more, and here we are today.
Okay, great. So can you tell us about the very first deal that you were successful with?
Sure. Well, I would preface this by saying that I'm glad to be able to stand up and say that I've made money on every single transaction that I've done. So I've been successful at every transaction that I've done. I pick and choose the transactions that I do so that, you know, it's a whole lot better to not do a transaction than to do a bad one and wind up losing money. So I'll say that first. But my very first transaction was actually a renovation project. It was a rehab deal. I found a motivated seller through street marketing strategies, and they invited me into their home, and we negotiated the deal, and I put the crew to work, and there was a lot of heartache along the way, I'll be honest with you, but at the end of the day, it was a successful project, and I made some good money, and you know, it's one thing special, even more than cashing that big check, but it's the fact of getting it over the hump of your first transaction that really adds a lot to it.
Wow, that's great. That's really inspiring, because a lot of people have to get over that fear of doing their first deal, because it is very scary to jump into that. So it's great to hear that how you actually dealt with that obstacle and describing the feeling of achieving that. Now, what were some of the challenges that you faced over the years doing real estate investing, and sort of give us an example of how you dealt with them?
Well, the list is long, believe me. I mean, I wouldn't want to scare any of your listeners. I mean, anytime you're dealing with people, they're going to be, and each group of people, whether they be buyers, sellers, contractors, whatever, they come with their own special set of challenges. But what really helps you go through and to keep pressing on is when you have a team that's built around you. You have coaches and mentors and confidants and people who you network with. You know, you can go with questions to and get your questions answered, and people who've been down the road a little bit before you and help keep you right on the track and keep you focused. That really helps overcome all of those challenges, as you say, getting you to where you want to go. And believe me, it's well worth it.
Okay, and could you tell us how much you made on your very best deal? Are you willing to share that information with us?
Sure. My best deal...
To be an exact amount, just a ballpark figure.
In the area of $75,000.
Wow, excellent. And do you remember how long it took you to get that from start to finish?
That was 6 months.
Okay, not bad for a 6-month turnaround. That's excellent. Now, what's some of your advice that you would give to other investors?
Well, again, excuse me, advice I would give to new investors getting started, basically, put a good team together with people who have been down the road before. People on your team, you're going to need a coach, a mentor, a licensed realtor, you know, good CPA, all of those people that are critical for your success. And don't try to do it all yourself. I mean, there's a lot of people would sit down and they think that, you know, it's okay, they have a project and they need to put up drywall themselves and swing a hammer, or they need to get in there and clean up. Don't do that. Get the people together who are professionals at what they do and put them to work, and you go about the business of creating the deals.
Okay, that's great advice, which brings us to my next question. Why do you use Wealth Building CPA and Ibarra Services, and how have they helped you with dealing with tax and finance issues?
Well, Ibarra is the professional. She does what she does, and that frees me up to not have to be too concerned about, you know, every single line item on the tax forms. I don't have to stay up all night reading IRS codes or whatever. I just gather my information together and I ship it over to her and her team, and they take care of it.
Okay, great. That's a wonderful testimonial, and one that I get with every single interview that I do, so it's nice to hear that there's consistency across the board there. Now, would you like to share with us what kind of real estate deals you're currently working on?
Well, as a licensed agent, of course, I handle traditional buyers and sellers of residential real estate, and I also work with a lot of investors, particularly new investors getting started. You know, using my license and also just using my experience and my acumen to help them as a coach to keep them on track and help them get to their success. In my own investing, I'm mostly doing wholesale transactions right now, which is, your listeners aren't really familiar with that term, is basically finding a piece of property cheaper than what a rehab or a renovator would be interested in purchasing it for. And you basically, you're the deal maker, you put it together and you turn it over, and you collect the fee in the middle. And it's a very lucrative way of doing business. It's a quick turnaround. There's a lot of speed in the money. But there is also a great satisfaction as well for renovating houses, because you can take an ugly house and turn it into something beautiful and put your mark on it and provide a nice place for a nice family to move into. So those basic 4 areas are the areas that I concentrate in.
Okay, so there's a lot of choice there for anybody listening who perhaps want to either bring deals to you or in some way joint venture with you, and I know you're open to that. So if people are interested in contacting you, Lewis, how can they get in touch with you?
Well, the very best way to get in contact with me would be by email. And my email address is LUIS, the number 1, NAVARRO at yahoo.com. And my cell number is 443-330-2099.
Okay, so I've put that up on the screen for everybody watching this, so you know how to get hold of Lewis and pick his brain and find out how you guys can make some money together. So thank you so much for your time today, Lewis. It's been really insightful. Any last parting words for anybody listening?
It's absolutely my pleasure to be on this call with you today. And one thing that I would say to everyone listening is, I know it's a cliche when people say that now is the best time to buy real estate. I would take that a little bit step further, and I would say this is the very best time to collect real estate. And give me a call, send me an email. Don't think about what you can't do. Think about bring your desires to me, and we'll figure out how to get it done.
Great, wonderful. Thanks so much, Lewis.
All right, my pleasure.